Now, Defence Minister Tobias Ellwood is one of those expected to find out today whether he'll be keeping his post. He joins us now. How are you feeling?
I'm, pensive and relaxed at the same time. It's part of the business that we're in. You don't go into politics thinking it's going to be an easy ride. It is brutal, as we've seen in the last couple of days. But I would support, I hope everybody, whether on backbenches or indeed in the government, will support this Prime Minister. We have 100 days to get the most difficult challenge out the way. And he's coming in, he's showing he's going to be bold, he's going to be radical. There's going to be a Boris factor, which is going to change things. And we need to give this a chance. And so I do hope supporters. I know that there are people that have absolutely strong views about the new Prime Minister. But Britain needs to re-engage on the international stage. We need to be less risk-averse.
You haven't supported him really up until now. You backed Matt Hancock in the leadership race, and then Rory Stewart. You never really came out in support of Boris Johnson. Why didn't you come out in supporting him then? Why now?
So I supported those two candidates, and as you pointed out, they then fell by the wayside.
When it fell down to two, you still didn't come out.
No, I didn't, because just the way that you people were pressing the candidates. If you came out in support, you then have to justify every single aspect of their policy announcements. I wanted to push forward an agenda to say, let's spend more money on defence. Let's get us back onto the international stage. The world is getting more dangerous and more complex. We have a role to play. So I wanted to participate in that argument rather than back a particular horse.
So how does it work then, Tobias? Have you got a meeting? Are you just literally sitting, looking at your phone, waiting for the call? How does it work?
Is your phone on at the moment? Feel free to keep it on just in case.
Yeah, that's right. Or hopefully one of the runners will come in and then tell me. I think there's a cabinet...
You missed a call, though.
No, there's things happening this morning. First cabinet meeting, I think you touched on.
8:30, yeah.
I think there's going to be a statement in the House of Commons as well.
But for you personally, I mean, you know, you're sitting here on a human level. You're concerned about your sort of immediate future and your job. Do you get a call to say good news or bad news? How does it work?
The way it worked yesterday is those people that were going to be asked to leave the government were given one-to-one interviews, and that took place in the House of Commons.
Is there a part of you, not being negative here, but let's turn out, it doesn't turn out your way, you don't get a position, but is there part of you relishing the opportunity of being on the backbenches in the next couple of months?
You have to embrace all opportunities. There are other jobs that you can do on the backbenches as well, other things that you can get involved with. There's an abundance of projects that are there and things to pursue. So it works both ways.
So I'm sure you listened very closely to Boris Johnson's speech yesterday, as we all did. There was a lot of promises in there, and I wondered if you noticed some absences too. You were here on Monday talking about the very frightening situation with Iran, something that concerns you. No mention of that at all. Were you surprised? Because there's a new Foreign Secretary that's got to take that on. And that is a very big challenge for us right now, isn't it?
I wish Dominic were well. He knows the Middle East well. He was a UN lawyer out there. But ultimately, the next 100 days are going to be the biggest test. And my view is that...
So do you think it is all about Brexit? Because, you know, you were trying to warn us on Monday that this is a situation that's escalating out of control. I mean, there are people that say we could be at war, and we are blurred by the Brexit problem, aren't we?
Well, the economy has already taken... The pound has dropped 15% since this. We've been unable to secure a Brexit resolution. It is the focus. It overshadows absolutely everything. You can want to do all these things. So our economy is actually doing better than Japan or Germany's, but you wouldn't know it because the Brexit issue overshadows everything. I believe it's a sense of duty for every single Conservative MP to support the Prime Minister in getting a deal. He wants a deal. We see from the European Union they want a deal as well. There is a sense of, let's move forward.
But he's also said, which you don't want, he's also said that we will leave with no deal. So do you think that could be the stumbling block in terms of you continuing to work for him directly in your current position?
I hear this argument. I don't personally agree with it, that you need to sort of prepare for no deal for the reasons why we've discussed before. It's also dangerous. If you end up with no deal, you end up with nothing in Northern Ireland. You end up with Northern Ireland probably ceding away from the Union. We would then lose Scotland. Where would that leave Britain?
Yeah, but he has said, and he said again yesterday, that no matter what, that, you know, come October the 31st, he's going to make sure that we've left the EU. So that would therefore mean that you know, only way guaranteeing that is to leave with no deal. OK, but... And you're opposed to that.
I am. Yeah. But let's make it very, very clear. His first objective is to strike a deal. and there's a sense of determination. The DUP want us to get a deal.
You're saying in about, with the holiday period as well, recess, in about 5 or 6 weeks, there's going to be miraculously a new deal on the table.
It won't actually be a new deal. It'll already be the basis of the withdrawal agreement. Citizens' rights, how does that operate? Financial services, how does that operate? Our European arrest warrant, how does that operate? They've already been agreed. They are the contents of the current withdrawal agreement. The bit that is missing is the Northern Ireland backstop. That is the stumbling block. And that's where Boris Johnson will have to go to Berlin, to Paris, to Brussels to actually make further arrangements to see whether we can reconcile that issue. But the sense of, let's get on with this. And if we don't, where does this leave the Conservative Party? It'll take us into opposition for at least a decade, I think. And that's the danger, and that's on a lot of MPs' minds.
So there's been very limited detail on what the actual plan is for Boris Johnson. I can understand why in a negotiation position you might want to keep that close to your chest. Do you believe he does have one, though?
I think he's been working on that. He's we're seeing new people coming in to actually support that. We'll see a statement here today as well. We're literally on day 2 of him being Prime Minister. So this is the direction of travel that we need to go.
Do you think the EU will change their mind and renegotiate the withdrawal agreement?
We've had welcoming comments by Michel Barnier and also by Ursula von der Leyen, the new Commissioner herself, saying we want to help. If you need a bit of extra time, we'll provide that as well.
Always over the political statement, not the actual agreement, though.
Well, either way, these are olive branches to say, Prime Minister, we actually want to work with you. But I should emphasise the problem of no deal. If we end up on the 31st of October not having a deal, and then you still have to return back for a deal, how does citizens' rights, how's that actually going to work? Financial services, how will that work? How will Northern Ireland work? That's a buffer with the EU land border. We need arrangements. That's part of a deal. But you won't be going back to one person, to Michel Barnier. He'd have gone. You'd then be negotiating with 27 separate countries, including Spain, that will make different requests, probably to do with Gibraltar and so forth. France as well on fishing. They will all come with their own personal agendas. We need to get this done in the next 100 days.
Leo Varadkar, the Irish Taoiseach, has said that enthusiasm for all, everyone endorses the spirit of positivity. It is no replacement for European policy. The idea that this can be renegotiated is nonsense.
I would half agree with that. You do need a can-do attitude. We became risk-averse. There were problems that we were bumping into. Much of that was actually, let's be honest, was within my own party. What he's got now is that there's been a tilt, I think, to a more Brexit-looking cabinet itself. I think that will shore up the ERG in the party to say, actually, I think we can actually support this. Let's make this happen.
In a way, for Brexiteers and Remainers, is this probably the best-case scenario? Because now you've got a situation where the Brexiteers are in charge of Number 10. Boris Johnson is in charge of Number 10. The Leave campaign are there now. He's got some of his main Leave campaign strategists in there. It is now up to them. They've got to own this. And these next 100 days really decide. They can't now blame Remainers in the Tory government. They can't blame anybody else other than themselves for what happens in the next couple of months. So even from a Remain point of view, it's probably a good scenario.
I think that's a really astute observation. But I would just say it hasn't tilted completely to the Brexit position. You've got Nicky Morgan is back in. You've got Matt Hancock there, Ben Wallace that I mentioned before. You've got Sajid Javid. He was a Remainer as well. I think he'll be brilliant as Chancellor. One thing that the Tory party is renowned for is fiscal responsibility. And so having him there. But these are all Remainers as well. Amber Rudd is still there too. So, the balance there is important. But certainly it's tilted more towards the Brexit side.
And just very quick, ask another question. For a lot of us, a lot of people watching this, they've got all kinds of jobs. If there was a crucial moment in their business, their boss will probably turn around, or their shareholders will probably turn around and say, sorry, don't take a holiday right now because we've got a takeover coming, something very crucial is happening, there's a big change, can we wait on? That's not seem to be happening in the government now. There's recess. Do you not think there's an argument to say that actually tomorrow you should not be going on holiday? Let's see this through. You can have a vacation post-October once we see this through, the next 100 days through.
I hear the argument. But who has to do the work? Who has to do the negotiation? It's not the entire Parliament that goes to Brussels, Paris and Berlin in order to strike a further advance on the deal itself. It'll be Boris Johnson and his team. That's what he needs to do. We have a G7 summit in Biarritz in August. There's a European Council meeting as well. So once he's done the homework, He then can come back, report to Parliament, and it could be that in September that we have a longer session because of that. But for the moment, it's for the executive rather than the legislative to actually do the work.
Tobias, I'm just hearing somebody just said you've had 7 missed calls on your phone.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, sorry.
You need to run out there.
Sorry, but then it stopped ringing. 7 and that was it.
It's probably my mum asking where I am.
It's like Love Island, you usually get a text.
I wouldn't know.
Good to talk to you. I hope we talk to you again.
Yeah,
I'm sure we'll talk to you again and wherever it ends up, but I hope you get to stay where you want to be.